Today, I'll be revealing why everyone seems closer to retirement than you are and why this perception can destroy your retirement confidence. If you've ever scrolled through social media or overheard a coworker or a friend or family member talk about retiring in 5 years and thought, why does it feel like everyone else is ahead of me? You're not just imagining it, it happens a lot. I've been a financial planner for over 15 years, helping people understand retirement reality versus perceptions. I've seen all the psychological traps that make everyone feel like everyone else's retirement seems a lot more achievable than theirs. If you're new to the channel, my name's Justin. I own a financial planning firm in Lewisburg, Pennsylvania, where we help retirees all across the country make smart financial decisions and look at retirement more realistically. And that's what I want to try to help you do today. And here's the twist. Feeling behind has almost nothing to do with your bank balance and everything to do with the way retirement is portrayed to you every day. And so today I'm going to expose the reasons why everyone appears to be further ahead in retirement than you, show you the reality behind these false perceptions, and then help you see your true retirement position and maybe feel a little bit better about it. So let's dig right into it. So the real problem here isn't your retirement progress. It's the distorted lens that you're forced to look at it through. So social media, workplace chatter, family and friends, even the retirement industry itself are all constantly feeding you false signals that make it look like everybody else is closer to the retirement finish line than you are. And when you compare your unfiltered reality to somebody else's highlight reel, like social media is all the time, it's not your finances that take the hit, it's your confidence. And I see this in my day-to-day all the time, talking with people, about their retirement concerns. By far the biggest reason people reach out to me in the first place is just for assurance that they're on the right track, that are they okay? Are they doing better than their peer group? Are they behind? So what are the real issues here? Why does this retirement illusion feels so convincing, and how does it end up crushing people's retirement confidence? Okay, so part of the problem, the first one, the biggest one by far, is the social media retirement illusion. Let's talk about this a little bit. So on social media, you almost never see somebody post that, hey, I just checked my 401k balance and I'm way behind. You almost never see that. Well, maybe you have that one person that overshares everything, right? And you end up blocking them because you just don't want to hear every thought that they have. But most people aren't going to post that. Instead, it's the retirement wins, it's the bucket list vacations, the freedom at 55 success stories. Even on YouTube or even Twitter X, you might hear those FIRE stories, financially independent, retire early. And a lot of times it leaves people thinking, well, what's wrong with me? Why am I so far behind? Why am I not where that person's at? But you don't always hear the normal day-to-day stuff because average retirements aren't share-worthy, right? The rough patches like market losses, budget tightening, or unexpected expenses, all that stuff gets filtered out along with the unflattering swimsuit photos from last year's vacation. Not that you need to see research to believe this, but a very interesting paper in 2015 shows how social media amplifies social comparisons even way more than TV does, making us feel like we're lagging behind no matter what the truth is. And I really thought this paper was interesting because it showed that people who use social networking sites tend to be a lot more dissatisfied with their income and financial status. But on the contrary, the more the frequency of their meetings with friends in real life, the lower their financial or income dissatisfaction. So basically, this is saying get off social media, stop browsing and doom scrolling, and go talk to more people in real life, and you'll feel better about your financial situation. But the truth is, this illusion doesn't just live online. It's very much alive and well at work also. So the next problem area I'll talk about is the workplace retirement theater, you could call it. So offices and workplaces can become their own little Broadway shows, I guess you could call it. You'll hear coworkers talk about retiring in 5 years, or I'm retiring next year, or upgrading their RV, or putting improvements on the house, or buying another property. People are very quick to share their dreams and timelines. Many times they might even exaggerate it, but they don't share the debt, lingering mortgage, family problems, of course, or the fact that their retirement account isn't where it should be, or that they have doubts about it. And I find this workplace theater can create silent peer pressure. And I've seen it in client meetings. So a lot of people who might look very financially polished on the outside, they have all the trappings of success, right? But many times they have major gaps, mistakes, and a lot of anxiety and doubt inside. And that pressure can push people into risky or unnecessary moves just to feel like they need to keep up. And now, of course, yes, some people do legitimately retire earlier. Some people are doing very well, but you can't always compare yourself to that, because some people have some hidden advantages that maybe you didn't have. Some people might have had an inheritance, right? Maybe they got a leg up when they bought their first home. Maybe a family member or a parent paid off a big chunk of their student debt, or maybe they have a pension you don't have, or a family business, right? So that can shift the whole conversation from, well, they're just better at finance and they're better planners, to maybe they just have a different set of cards in their hand that you don't have. And so comparing yourself to people like that, it's like comparing marathon times when the other runner started 10 miles ahead. Or if you're, let's say, for example, let's say you're a cyclist and you like biking. It's like comparing yourself to a Tour de France pro, or like wondering why you don't have the same times as Lance Armstrong does because you train every day, right? You can train your whole life. You can even take all the special sauce that Lance took. You're not going to beat his times, right? He was just born with something that you don't have. And so it's similar in financial situations as well, right? Some people just have advantages you don't have. You can't always see under the surface what they have or what they're doing. The best thing is just to focus on what you can control and things that you can improve in your own life. And so while family, friends, coworkers can play their part in exacerbating this retirement problem, the retirement industry itself can have an even bigger role in this illusion. And so the last part of this problem I'll talk about is the financial industry's false urgency. And so the financial industry thrives on benchmarks and ideal savings by age charts and retirement glide paths, all these things that look like set formulas everybody can follow that totally ignore individual circumstances. And they do this because fear sells. Fear is a great motivator, right? The more you feel behind, the more you feel like you're missing out, the more likely you are to buy products or chase returns that are marketed to you for that specific purpose. Now, the danger of that, though, is that retirement isn't a race with one finish line. Everybody has their own individual finish line. And so if the official milestones don't match your life, it's not the end of the world. You need tailored planning. Maybe those milestones have nothing to do with your life, right? But it can lead to either panic or taking outsized risks, or the worst part, just feeling defeated and stop planning altogether and think, well, this makes me sad or nervous. I don't want to think about it. I'll deal with it later. And I know this part is hard. I get it. It's hard to know where you should be, right? Because there's so much information out there, and that's probably why you're watching YouTube in the first place, trying to get some advice and piece it to you. And now that you understand a couple of these problems and how they affect people, if you want some help, if you have questions about where you should be or want some guidelines, some thoughts about your retirement, click the link below the video. It'll take you to a quick questionnaire. Fill it out. I will send you back a personalized video giving you my thoughts on your retirement and some steps that you can take to possibly improve. And now, if many of these comparisons are built on illusions, how do you actually know where you stand and start feeling confident about your retirement again? Well, here's the truth. So most people are nowhere near the perfect retirement benchmarks that you see online. Only about 3% of retirees in the US actually have $1 million or more in retirement accounts, and the median savings for households of people aged 65 to 74 is roughly $200,000, far, far less than what most expert calculators recommend. And guess what? People in these demographics still retire, and many of them still end up living very enjoyable lives in retirement. And here's the secret that I'll let you in on. Almost every client that I've worked with throughout the course of my career, and I've worked with hundreds, regardless of wealth, they've all thought that they were behind. And that's by far the biggest question that I get is, Justin, how do you think I'm doing on a scale of 1 to 10, or like on a percentage? Would you put me in the top percentile, or am I behind compared to some of your other clients? And I find that with some people, no matter how much wealth they have, they always feel like they're behind. It's almost like the what they call the adenous complex with bodybuilders, right? No matter how big they get, how much muscle they get, they always feel like they're small and they're thin. They look massive to you and I, but in their minds, they're never big enough. And some people, it's the same way with their finances. But your retirement journey should be custom built. That's the key to it. And the key to confidence is to stop measuring your progress against strangers' milestones or others that you don't know the full story, and just start measuring it against your own past self and your own past progress. And so what are the solutions here? Well, let's talk about some of the progress recognition strategies that can reveal your actual retirement spot and what you need to do to get better. So one way to break the comparison loop is to track your progress against your past self, not against somebody else's numbers, like I just mentioned earlier. It's like they say in sports, especially college and pro sports, they'll say get 1% better every day, because at that level, it's really hard to get 10 or 20% better, but you can try to get 1% better every day. And in your finances, maybe it's not every day, maybe it's month to month or quarter to quarter, but that same mindset, celebrate those small wins. If you pay off a car loan or you knock out a student loan, that's future cash flow that's freed up. That's great. Give yourself a pat on the back. Allow yourself to feel good for things like that, instead of looking at it as glass half empty and like, well, I still have a lot of debt to go. Ride that positive wave of emotion. That's good stuff. That's exciting. That's progress. And then also you want to focus on those controllable factors, right? Market returns you can't control. Market returns will be what they will be, assuming, of course, that you're already set up to begin with in a properly diversified, efficient, low-cost portfolio that's targeting highest expected returns. But that's why I hardly ever talk much about investment returns or specific investment strategies on this channel, because that's the thing in retirement that you actually have the least amount of control over. You can't control what the markets are going to do, but you can control your savings rate, your spending, your investment discipline, your reactions, and of course your attitude to everything. My youngest brother played college basketball at Penn State, and the coach there was really big on attitude. They had that as a mantra. They had it up above the locker room. It's probably still there. My brother actually went out and he got a little tattoo on his wrist that says attitude, because it had such an impact on him. So I asked him about it. He said, well, every time I look at it, I can make sure and remember what they taught me, that I can always control my attitude. If you make a bad play or you did something wrong, you don't have to let it ruin the rest of the game. The same thing with finances as well. You can always control your attitude towards a situation, control your reactions when things aren't going well in the market and things like that, but really just focusing on those factors that you have control over. And of course, make sure you're reviewing your numbers either annually, semi-annually. This can let you see the trend line, not just the snapshot, and making sure that you can track that progress and you have some gauge to compare it. Another thing I feel is important here in not feeling behind or the comparison trap is the psychology of enough, right? A lot of people just never feel ready, and sometimes even especially wealthy retirees, right? Once you reach that one milestone, there's always another one. And the definition of enough will shift for many people over time. And when I say this, I'm saying this to myself as well, because I've struggled with this in my own life and trying to measure, what's enough. And once you achieve something, then being dissatisfied and then needing to go to the next thing. But I think an important thing here is just focusing for a little bit on gratitude and realizing and taking inventory and notice of all the good things that are happening. For example, like how far you might have come from earlier. Maybe the version of yourself now couldn't even imagine having the level of wealth that you now have when you were 10, 20, 30 years younger, right? And so even just looking at statistics, that I saw a statistic this morning that if you make $34,000, you're in the top 1% of global wealth. And if you have $100,000, you are in the top 8% of global wealth in investment savings. And now you might hear that and be like, come on, Justin, man, I need a lot more than that to survive. Yes, I understand. I'm just throwing out something as perspective that when you start with gratitude, that can eliminate some of that anxiety caused by those impossible comparisons and give you a more reasonable, framework to look at things in a different lens. And there's always somebody you could be comparing yourself to. Unless you're Elon Musk, there's always somebody else out there that's richer than you, right? So that can help you replace that moving the goalpost mindset with tangible, achievable milestones that are realistic for you. And so this leads to better financial decisions, a sustainable pace towards retirement, and confidence that isn't shaken every time you open social media. And so it's not about anybody else's finish line, it's about yours. And the moment you stop chasing somebody else's version of retirement, you can start building a version of the future that fits your life. And if you want to see exactly how to build a realistic, confidence boosting retirement plan based on your circumstances, just click the link in the description. There'll be a short questionnaire, fill it out. I will send you back a personalized video going over my step-by-step system and things that I feel are important in retirement, so you can stop comparing and start progressing. If I can help, just let me know. Glad to do it. Thanks again for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next one.